Welcome to the NBA Coast to Coast podcast brought to you by TheLines.com. Coming to you from the West Coast, Josh Lander, joined by Nate Weitzer. He's on the East Coast. We got Playa Props here on Tuesday as we roll along in the NBA. Make sure to subscribe to that page because we've also got best bets up, some sides and totals looks for you guys in a separate episode, bringing both of those to you each and every day moving forward this NBA season. So definitely continue to follow along by subscribing to that page. Go ahead and give the video a like too if you guys are getting anything out of this. A little 2-2 last night on the Playa Props. Quickly couldn't come through. A couple other guys. Obviously, we had that Phoenix look there with Brad Beal, but I think we rectified some of the mistakes, learned from some of the stuff here. We've got some good looks here on Player Props for Tuesday night. So let's kick it off with your first bet here, Nate.
Yeah, I learned I should have just gone with a lean yesterday, which was Jaden Hardy, and it was 10.5 points. Now it's 9.5 on a back-to-back for Dallas. So great. Yeah, gobble that up because he should play a lot more. I mean, he should continue to play more as Spencer Dinwiddie proves that he's just not useful anymore without Kairuka. I mean, they started Najee at point guard last night, and then Dinwiddie off the bench was a -9, played 30 minutes and only hit 2 threes, like didn't do much else. And then Hardy's out here just like a point per minute. He's just out here gunning for his career, being like, I can score. Like, watch what I can do. I can go right to the basket, or I can hit threes. And the Lakers give up both of that. I mean, right now, giving up the fourth most paint points their last 4, allowing the most points to point guards in their last 15. Mavs are playing a lot faster and looser without Kairuka. It's a back-to-back. They've averaged actually 250 on back-to-backs their games. Last year, 236. So definitely lean to the over here. But I think this is an even stronger play just because Hardy, last 3, 22 minutes, 14 points, 25% usage. I just think that's going to continue to go up here. Klay Thompson, might not be very, very, very good to go here on a back-to-back. Dinwiddie is also 31 and coming off an ACL a couple of years ago. So it's just like, what else do the Mavs have here in the backcourt? Like, they're going to be without Kyrie and Luka for at least 2 weeks, right? So it's like they gotta kind of unleash Hardy here and see what he can do.
Yeah, Cam Thomas light, Jaden Hardy, right? Pretty solid comparison there. Just microwave score. Will miss 27 shots in a row and shoot the 28th without fear, right? So yeah, you love a guy like that. I mean, Malik Beasley, another guy that comes to mind. Bad shooting night last night. Not going to stay away from betting Malik Beasley, just gunners. And yeah, 9.5 points for Hardy when you can expect about 20 minutes from him. And I don't know how you keep playing Spencer Dinwiddie, man. It's a dude that like came in the league and we were like, well, if he figures things out, he's going to be really good. He never figured things out. So he's still not very good. And I would not be playing him that many minutes if I was the coaching staff, but what do I know? Let's go over to the game of the night. Obviously, Boston-Denver, the final series that we're still kind of all waiting for, I think. But I don't know if we're going to get it this year. Either way, let me get the boards for Kristaps. 6.5 rebs for Porzingis in this one. And it's really just centers versus Denver. This opened at 5.5, which was crazy at like -140, which I'd still be good for. Zinger's at 6.5 boards on the season, has gone over this number in 9 of the 13 games that he's actually played in this season as well. And Denver giving up the third most rebounds to centers. And last year, that was not the case. Like last year, they were also limiting centers on the rebounds, but also last year, Jokic wasn't really trying to score quite as much. His shot attempts are up. His points are up because Jamal Murray's not Jamal Murray right now. And I don't know that he's ever going to go back to being the Jamal Murray that we saw if he's not able to get the foul calls that really helped him when he would go to the rim. Just throwing that out there about Jamal. But for Joker, that's just going to keep meaning he needs to score 30, right? And with that in mind, he's going to be taking the shots, which puts the center that's guarding him in between him and the basket as he's doing most of this stuff off the post up, right? So that's what my reasoning. I've looked back, at least watching the last couple of Denver games alone. You see the centers pinned behind Jokic. That puts them in the most opportune rebounding position, right? A guy shoots a baby hook. If it's short, you're in the best position to get the rebound. So I think there's a lot of that logic going on here, even for guys like Wemby, right? Wemby got schooled for sure, but he had double-digit rebounds in like the first half, essentially, of both of these games against Denver because Jokic is taking all of the shots, right? And he's shooting a great percentage, but it still leaves the easiest rebound for the center in the game, which is just falling right off the front of the rim where he's already standing. So that's big reasoning for it. I think Kristaps is just getting a raw deal here. I mean, he's well rested. They've been very strategic with his minutes, keeping Papa Al out there when they need him. They had both of them available for, close to 30 minutes in the game against the Thunder. And that's how I would imagine they treat this next game here against the other top team in the West, one of, let's put it that way, in the Nuggets right now. So I just think the minutes are going to be there for him. You've seen him do this last year. He went over in both these games, 19 rebound chances, 15 rebound chances. That was in 35 and 36 minutes. And he's not done that yet this season with that amount of minutes in terms of 35 or 36. He's played 37 once and 36 once. And other than that, everything's been lower than that. And he's still going over. Per 36 minutes, he's at about 11 boards per 36. So if he gets close to 35, I think he's good for close to double-digit boards in this one, and a sprinkle on a double-double might even be a look here in a little bit for me.
Yeah, plus 400 for that. If you want to bank on, him staying out there, avoiding foul trouble. But the Celtics, I mean, Joe Maz showed a willingness to stick with him early when he got to quick foul trouble against Şengün 2 nights ago. That was a blowout in their favor, then a blowout the other way. So it's not like he's on a minutes restriction for Porzingis. Like, he's probably capable of going 35 here if he's their best option on Jokic, which he probably is. So, I mean, as long as he's out there, yeah, this has been a pretty consistent hit rate. This is pretty low for a guy of that size. So, and the way the Nuggets are playing at home with such pace, like, there's just so many opportunities. So, yeah, so this was the mistake last night, which you pointed out was like the Suns have switched things up a lot. They're now bringing Bradley Beal off the bench. And so I'm taking his points and assists, trying to follow that wave where he cruised past this. I mean, 16.5 is probably gone. Most places are juiced up, so it might be 17.5 by the time you bet this, but I think that's just fine. I mean, because he's just running the second unit, and it's a back-to-back, so I don't even know if Booker's going to be close to the 38 minutes he played on the front end here. Book, thrived with the first unit for 19 potential assists, 10 actual assists. Beal thrived with the second, 9 potential assists, got 5, got 2 secondary assists. He's been good on back-to-backs. The last one, when Booker did not play, he played 40 minutes, scored 28 against the Warriors. This is a much worse defense that allows a ton of above-the-break threes where Beal will be able to fire. They're not particularly good limiting assists or point guards or anything that Beal would like to do, and that the Suns do as a unit, which is catch and shoot threes. That's either going to be Beal distributing to them or being on the receiving end of those. And if Book happens to see limited minutes or doesn't play, like the 5 without him, he's averaging 23 and 3.5, playing 6 more minutes per game, getting off 2 more threes per game, hitting 44%. And even with Book, I mean, he's averaging nearly 17 a game. So, like, why is this line so low? Unless, you think, like, the elbow soreness that he pops up with all the time is going to limit it on back-to-backs, but he's been good on the last 2 back-to-backs that he's played. So I think as long as he's out there, Beal looking to show something with the second unit. Suns shopping him a little bit, maybe at least looking to like figure something out. Vogel really needed to make some adjustments after that losing streak, and he has now to get this guy going.
Yeah, Budenholzer, but either way, Vogel was there forever. Another curmudgeonly defensive-minded coach, just like Bud. So no worries to get those guys mixed up. Brian Windhorst meme, like, why is this at 14.5 points? I'm so confused to the point you're making. I mean, he shot 15 times yesterday. That's just as often as he's shooting with Beal, with Book and KD when he was in the starting lineup. It's not like he's getting fewer shots. I don't get it either. I think the 17.5 now for the PA is what you can get, but it's still good because it's like 2.5 to the over is like minus 160 on DraftKings. But you add that to the 14.5 and you still get minus 110. You know what I mean? So you're like basically just taking that minus 160 over 2.5 assists, melding it into the points, and you get way better juice than even the minus 160. I think this is a great look. Whether you add the assists or not, I actually don't even care. I think either of them are good plays in and of themselves. So it makes sense to add them together too if you want. But I'm going to close it out with another 6.5 rebounds to the over for Miles Bridges. Looks like this is down to minus 130. I got this at a really good number, like minus 106 on FanDuel, but we'll see. Obviously, just shop your lines. And I think minus 130 is still good. I do think this is going to go up to 7.5 rebounds for Miles Bridges. That's what he's averaging on the season. Full disclaimer, too, books will sort of try to trap you into being able to limit you. If they deem you sharp because you get too much closing line value. Sometimes I feel like they're just throwing traps out there where they're like, hey, Miles Bridges, 5.5 rebounds, minus 140. Who wants this 24 hours before tip so we can, notate that you might be sharp or at least getting better value on these closing lines. And that's what I feel like this Miles Bridges, it opened at 5.5. And I was just like, this is crazy. I can't take this because they're just going to flag me as soon as I take it. So I waited for the 6.5, still hit it, and it's still going up because I do think it will end at 7.5. With Miller and Ball, who are both going to be out there this season, this game, he's better without them. When they're both not there, his rebounds are good because he's averaging like 38 minutes per game in those situations. But his rebounds per minute are still the same with Ball, without Ball, with Miller, without Miller. It's the same. He's at 7.6 boards per game with those dudes out there over in 7 of 10 games. Now, he's played like 5 games without both of them, gone over in 4 of 5, and is averaging like 9.5 rebounds without them. So if either of them are both stat, this is a wonderful bet. With both of them, it's still a good bet. Even at about minus 120, minus 125 for these two dudes. With them on the floor and without Grant Williams, which I do think is important because he was getting power forward minutes that he's no longer going to get. We're also not going to see Diabate out there to take this stuff. So if you take G. Will, Trey Mann also not out there, and Moussa Diabate, you take all 3 of those guys off the floor and put Bridges on floor with Ball and Miller, he's at 10 rebounds per 36. And I think he's good for 34 minutes tonight. Once again, that's what he's been playing when those two guys are here and he's not on a minutes restriction, which he's been on a few games this season. So some of these unders that you'll see, he's going to be at 26 minutes, 27 minutes, and he's at about 5 boards or 6 boards. But he's consistent with the rebounds per minute to the point where if he plays 34, I have him at about 9 boards. So I think anything at 6.5 or above is still going to be good because that's the amount of minutes I'm projecting him for.
Yeah, and Phoenix is like a non-existent offensive rebounding team already. And now if Nurkic is playing, he played 14 minutes last night, right? If Nurkic isn't out there, they're really just going to not contest these misses. So like that's he'll gobble them up as the second or the best rebounder on the floor. Depending on how things line up. 6.5 too low as well here. And some nice symmetry with your picks here. 6.5.
Six for 6. Maybe make a little 6 for 6 parlay. But that's all the time we have for you guys. Looking to get up here some 3-and-1s, I think, on the best bets and the player props. That's what we're shooting for tonight. So definitely want to make sure to subscribe to that page. Check out the best bets with some sides and totals looks for you guys as well. And until we see you next, happy betting.